So we're going to break down the characteristics of postmodernism in a way that is, I'd say, targeted for slowly. So we're going to not just give you guys the definition of what the word is, but we're also going to try and break down the word so that it's not as scary for you when you come across it in a text or an exam or wherever you come across the word. All right. So the first one is intertextuality. So we're going to look at intertextuality as two words. So the first word is inter. Inter means that it is a connection, a relationship between entities. Intertextuality, the second word is textuality. Textuality, it refers to a text, whether it's written or it's spoken, but refers to a text. So the two words then join together to form one word. Intertextuality means that it is drawn from different texts or bodies of work to then form one entity. I'm going to give you guys an example. If you've ever seen the movie Shrek, it is a very awesome cartoon. You must really check it out. Shrek is an example of intertextuality. It is a postmodern movie, but a great example of intertextuality because of the storylines that come together to form Shrek, the movie. So Shrek is obviously drawn from the storyline of the typical Disney princess lines, but they use it in a different kind of way so that the princess stories is different from what we know. But not just that, we also have familiar characters that we know from Disney. Characters such as the princesses, Pinocchio, Red Riding Hood, and the Wolf, they all come together to form a solid movie to tell another narrative. So it rejects the grand narrative, which is the princess needs saving and whatnot, and then we have those texts coming in together to form one complete body of work. So that is intertextuality. So the lines between the story, between the texts, are very much blurred, and the reason why they're blurred is because they have to then join in together to create one story. So that is intertextuality. When you pull from different texts that already exist to form another narrative, to complete a new body of work, or use it as a base, or use it as inspiration. That is what intertextuality is. So if you haven't seen Shrek, go check out Shrek. It is a great example of intertextuality. The second characteristic, sorry, is fragmentation. No, sorry, fragmentation. Yeah. So fragmentation means that the storyline is disjointed. So as you know, a typical story, a typical movie, play, storybook, whatever, will have a linear plot. So we'll have a beginning, you meet your characters and whatnot, the story unfolds, as you go on watching the movie, and then you get to the climax, you get to the end. That's the end of the movie. And sometimes, as I said, you'll get a denouement, which is like a continuation of what happens after, meaning giving you closure. However, when the play is in fragments, it means that it does not follow the traditional structure of a play or storytelling. So, for an example, when you watch a movie and the movie keeps on going back in time, and then it comes back and tells the story again and goes back in time, even how the character develops, it is just jumping around, from just looping around from this to that to this to that. That is an example of when a play is in fragments. It means that the story, the pictures have to piece together. So then that's why we use the example of the collage. So it is a collage sort of structure. So when the pictures are not necessarily placed in a line in a collage, they are placed everywhere. So you place your pictures just everywhere. In the end, it's going to create a complete body of work, but the fact that they're not in a line makes them then in just fragments because they just plotted everywhere. So that is a fragmentation. That is when the play does not carry or use a straight line to create a structure, or a structure of a well-made play, but the movie or the play jumps around, and obviously in the case of for colored girls who have considered suicide, you get these monologues that then piece the work together. It doesn't have a storyline like a typical well-made play. A third characteristic of a postmodern play is meta theater. That is one word, but I say it as two words because I'm going to break down the two words. So first word is meta. Meta means that you are self-aware. And then obviously theater, we know what theater is. Come on. We are we know what theater is. So when something is meta theater as a characteristic, it means that the theater, the play or production, the production is aware of the fact that it is a play. So that is when your characters are very much aware of the fact that they are acting. Obviously, we've also seen this a lot in like sitcoms and whatnot, when the character will be very much aware of the fact that there is somebody watching them, which is the audience. So also that is when the play will then break out of character and directly communicate with the audience. So that is called breaking the fourth wall, which is something that you don't do when it comes to realism a well-made play, because there has to be a suspension of disbelief, which is then created by the stage setting itself. But in a postmodern play, the audience is very much can be very much part of the performance, and also the characters can show awareness of the fact that they are acting. And obviously this reminds us of epic theater, Brecht's epic theater, when when he uses his v effect to make not just the audience aware of the fact that they're acting on stage, but also the character themselves be aware of the fact that the actors be aware of the fact that they are indeed acting. Playfulness and parody. Playfulness comes in when the characters themselves are sort of aware of the fact that they are acting. Remember, acting is essentially just kids playing pretend. That's what acting is. So when you think of a parody, I hope you guys have seen some parodies, but I'll give you guys an example of a parody. If you've seen movies such as Dance Flick, Disaster Movie, Shrek is also a parody, you will see that most of the time in parodies, they are actually making fun of material that already exists. So if you've seen Scary Movie, actually, one of my favorite parodies, Scary Movie. Scary Movie is a combination of different horror movies that they actually make fun of. So that right there, Scary Movie, is a postmodern movie that uses intertextuality, because they draw from many horror movies that already exist, and they're playful about it, but also parody. When you're making a parody of something, it's like you're trying to bring awareness to how ridiculous sometimes certain things are, and it's you are making fun of something, and maybe even sometimes making fun of it by but fixing it. So remember that whole grand narrative that postmodernism is going against. So it's sometimes when they deconstruct in postmodernism, which is also another characteristic, deconstruction. So when you deconstruct something, you are removing a truth or a certain perception that is meant to constitute for everything, and then give it other narratives, give it other perspectives. Giving you an example. So in Scary Movie, there is a scene whereby the one of the characters has to run from the guy chasing with a knife, and instead of someone just running for their lives, usually in horror movies they'll run in like a very slowly, they'll keep falling or keep looking back or run into the house or do something quite ridiculous, something that puts them in a very dangerous situation. So when you are doing a parody of that, you are bringing awareness to the fact that this is actually ridiculous. You should be doing something else. So it's sort of like taking body of work that already exists and questioning it, or making you aware of the fact that this is not what actually happens. This is not reality. Reality is not like this. So, hope you enjoyed that and stay tuned for the next one. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe,